All right, here we go. What up, ladies and gentlemen? Yo, it is Trayvon Copeland, bro. Respect my nerds, back with another interview. I told y'all, bro, we are just rocking and rolling. Rocking and rolling. That is right. Yes. Today we have a very special guest for y'all today, man. We got my brother, Mr. Tony Cade in the building. That's right, Tony Cade. And it is an absolute pleasure to have this brother. This brother is the curator of a plethora of things, and we're about to get into some of those things right now. He is the owner of a comic shop called Challanges Games and Comics, out of Decatur, Georgia. Am I correct on that assessment?
Decatur is correct.
All righty, all righty. Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
Tony, I'm great. Tony, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us, coming to rock and roll with us, man. Just kind of soak in some of that knowledge that you have. Tony, how long has your shop been open?
Basically, I've been doing comics retail since 1994.
Wow, wow. So you've been doing comic retail since 19, what you call it? But how long has Challenges Games and Comics been open?
Well, we've been under the name of Challenges Games and Comics for basically on November 1st, it'll be 9 years. We actually took over a spot that was here in at North DeKalb Mall that was Challenges Family Fun Center. And it had been an arcade, here since probably like the 80s. I actually came here as a kid, back in the 80s, and used to hang out here. So it's like basically an homage, to the spot, and to keep the name going, we changed the name of the business from the Dragon's Horde to Challenges Games and Comics because everyone knew Challenges by name.
Right, right. It's kind of like a name brand kind of thing. So it's like, all right, we keep this, people going to associate that with their past memories. So we're going to keep the ball rolling. Okay, cool.
As long as you say Challenges, they knew where it is because it's been in the same space for over 30 years.
Right. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So just a couple quick questions for you, Tony. Who is Tony Cade? Let's talk about that.
What do you want to know?
Who is Tony Cade? Where Tony Cade from?
Well, actually, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, but I've lived most of my life here in Atlanta. And I guess you could say my formative years, my early teenage years, were actually in Southern California. I lived in like Pasadena, Altadena, and Anaheim. So I went through middle school in California and the beginning of high school before transferring here back to Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Wow, how was that transition, man? Because being from the East Coast is significantly different than being on the West Coast. Especially in California. Because if you ask me, California is Mexico 2.0. If you ask me.
Well, like I said, it's definitely a multicultural setting, especially where I was out in California. I had friends of like every nationality. I remember one guy and stuff I was talking to. I'm like, well, hey, where are you from? And he's like, oh, well, I'm Armenian. And I'm like, where's Armenia? And of course, I went and researched. I'm like, ooh, yeah, Armenia had it real bad.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's like once you start looking at, the different cultures around, the planet, and I'm thinking like, okay, as Black people, we've had it hard, but there's some people that have been wiped out.
Yeah.
That hardly even exist anymore.
Yeah.
There's like, you look at places like Australia, and the original Aborigines aren't even 10% of the entire population of Australia. All right.
Yeah.
And the indigenous people, or you think of like, the Native Americans here in this country, and it's just like, man, Europeans made it tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, that part. But okay, so when did you get into comic books, Tony? We talked about that a little bit.
Oh, well, I basically got into comic books as a kid. My dad worked at the airport here in Atlanta. And people would leave like comic books and magazines and stuff, there around, the food service areas. And so he'd collect them up. Instead of throwing them away, he'd bring them to me. And that's how I got into the habit of reading comic books. And then basically what happened is that I was on the front stoop one day and I was reading a comic book. And this older kid comes by and he's like, oh, you collect comic books too? And I got like a little stack of comic books on the shelf at home. And so I'm like, yeah, I collect comic books,
Yeah.
And then like, you want to come and see my collection? I'm like, sure, And so, I follow him over to his place and stuff. And I walk into his room and he's got these long white boxes full of comic books all stacked up, bagged and boarded. And I'm just like completely blown away. It's like, okay, this guy is like seriously collecting.
Yeah.
And so then he shows me an Overstreet price guide that has like the value of the comic books. I didn't know any of that stuff existed, So I'm like, can I borrow this? And so I run home and I show my dad and I'm like, Dad, look at this. These comic books could be worth money. And, luckily for me, that was something my dad could get behind. He didn't read, but he could get behind me doing the whole collectible thing. Yeah. And so, we got to the point and stuff where we started like going to like conventions, especially ones and stuff that would happen like around my birthday. And my dad would give me, like $50, which was like a lot of money back in the 70s. Okay. And so basically I would hit the comic book conventions and I wouldn't get like the expensive comic books. My whole thing is like, I'm on deal through these quarter boxes. Right. So I get like a whole bunch of comics for just 25 cents with all this money I got.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that I'm going through these quarter boxes and of course I'm grabbing like all these little #1 issues of stuff like Miss Marvel and Red Sonja and Luke Cage Hero for Hire. And, just all these like the 25-cent books. And, the thing about it is that now I look at, those books that I know I got out of quarter bins. And now, they cost me 25 cents, but now they're valued at like $25 and a lot more. It's like when the Miss Marvel movie came out, before it didn't get a lot of love, I actually went through back issues and had like 6 copies of like Miss Marvel #1, that I just collected, as a kid because it was the #1 issue. And I remember I probably got it for just a quarter. And even then, they were going for like $300 a piece. Because people were speculating on the movie.
Wow. That's incredible. What year was all this again, Tony? What year was all this? Like when you used to go and get the 25-cent comics?
Oh, like I said, this is back in the 70s.
70s.
This is when basically what you would have like is your quarter boxes now when you go to a convention. Back then there were quarter boxes. So we go through and like, collect up a bunch of comics and stuff then. All right, and so then that's how I got into collecting. I kind of stopped for a little while I was in California because it didn't really, my parents separated, didn't really have the funds, to start collecting. But when I moved back to Atlanta in the 80s, I was able to start back, collecting, back I was like in the 10th grade. And basically we had like a little group of us at school, and I went to East Atlanta High School. And even back then and stuff, it doesn't even exist anymore. You'll actually see it sometimes and stuff, the interior hallways in different movies and TV shows. But basically, I got together with like a group of friends and stuff when I moved back here to Atlanta, and we all played chess and also collected comic books. We had our nice little nerd crew, and then strangely enough, we were all like on the chess team. And so we actually went to a convention and we beat a school named Parkview, which back then was like little like the suburbs. It's where the rich kids live. And so they were pretty much like, oh, guys, that was a really nice game you guys played against us. Do you guys play Dungeons and Dragons? And we're all looking at each other like, what's Dungeons and Dragons? We had never heard of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, And so then, we go out to this kid's house. Of course, it's a really nice house. And they take us down to like, their little basement playroom. And he and his friends and stuff show us how to play D&D. And then all of a sudden, all of our minds just get completely blown because we're like, oh, this is a part of nerdom that we knew nothing about. We thought we were doing something, playing chess and reading comic books, but they like exposed us to like something completely whole new world. So then, from that point and stuff, it's like I went and I, of course, graduated from high school, and I was interested in, in journalism, and stuff like that, which got me into like photography, which got me into like, video production stuff. And it just happened to be that they were doing like what we call Fantasy Fair, which is like a big convention that was here in Atlanta before Dragon Con came along. And, back then and stuff, I think like the membership to go for like the weekend was probably like $50 or something, but I was like, oh shit, I ain't got $50 to do that, be, going to use for the convention. And it had like all these different actors and from the TV shows and everything at it. But they said that they needed staff. And so I go to a staff meeting and all of a sudden I see that they need like photographers. And I'm like, ooh, I could do that. And, and so then that's how I started getting to the whole, convention scene was as a staff photographer for both Fantasy Fair and later on Dragon Con. And then I actually started doing, because I was involved with Dragon Con, I actually started doing, before everybody was doing a podcast, there was like community access television. And so I actually had a community access TV show called Sci-Fi Atlanta. And because Atlanta had like so many conventions, I would basically travel to all the conventions because all of the people who ran the conventions knew me because I had been volunteering as a photographer. And I'd actually come in with like a camera crew and we'd actually interview all the different, actors and actresses. Some of my favorite people I've interviewed and stuff was like Nichelle Nichols, from, of course, Star Trek Next Generation. And, remember her talking about her one-woman show and how she was like, she would sing, the greatest hits of a lot of, the Black artists and stuff from like the golden age. We interviewed Chris Claremont, Todd McFarlane, a bunch of people, and like I said, somewhere it's like there's 3/4 tapes and VHS tapes, around the show. But of course, I was doing that way before, we had all this technology, now where we can just basically break out our computer and do a whole show. I learned how to like do video editing on like 3/4 tapes, and I have yet to actually sit down with like Adobe Premiere on my computer, even though I have it, and actually try editing something. But I learned how to do all the stuff old school. As I tell people, like when I got into photography, we were doing film. We didn't know what digital was. It didn't exist yet. But that's pretty much me though. It's like, I was doing a community access TV show, and then when we started up the comic shop, because I actually started off with a friend of mine, Timothy Cummings, because it was his idea to actually open a comic shop, but he had already sold his back issues. So I was supposed to come in as like a silent partner and provide my back issues, for the business. And we actually teamed up with another friend of mine, Don Hilsman. I'm not really familiar with him and stuff, but he's an artist and inker who's worked for Marvel, DC, CrossGen, all those different companies. And so basically we had our first setup we called Midtown Comics, where we had a photography studio, an art studio, and a comic book shop, all in the same location. And then, like I said, over time, both of them and stuff, went on to pursue different interests. And then slowly but surely, I was just running the comic shop and gaming shop myself. And from that point, still having that love of comics and, also wanting, to produce comics, especially since I got the chance to see how a lot of them were made, with my buddy Don. I was one of the founding members and stuff, and basically put together a writers group and an art class that was meeting at my store. And we started a group called Terminus Media. And that's how we actually got into like producing indie comics, and even got to the
Wow.
point where we started doing motion comics and started doing client work for the CDC, World of Coca-Cola, the Center for Puppetry Arts. We started, bringing in and doing client work.
Right. Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then like I said, after doing that for a while, we all got to the point where you get that little band group where everybody's together, and then all of a sudden everybody starts splitting off and started working on their solo careers, and that's pretty much what happened with that group.
Well, that always happens. That always happens. Whatever type of group. That's why I don't necessarily like group functions. I think I'm more of a militant kind of. Everyone will do as I say. I'm the supreme leader. You would drink at fork. I'm joking. I'm just joking. No, I'm joking. So serious. You would be on me. I'm joking. No. Anyway.
But hey, that's the thing about it. In the beginning, you always got more power as a group to get stuff done. Any of us individually, starting off, we probably wouldn't be able to get, contract work with the CDC and get some government money. All right. Yeah. But as a group, we were able to, to work together, to pull off, such things. And now, like I said, all of us individually, and it's still not individually because we still call on each other for help. And we produce, our own, indie comics and stuff like that. But through it all, basically, I've been doing the whole comic book shop thing, and that's been supporting me, since, the 2000s.
Wow. Amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
So I hope I didn't put anybody to sleep with all that. But that was a quick rundown.
No, educational.
So, I didn't get a chance to talk about the convention that I do, but we'll wait there.
Go ahead. You can slide it in there. Go ahead. You can slide it in there.
Oh, okay. Well, part of the thing is stuff too. Since I was here at North DeKalb Mall, I remember like hanging out with a couple of other guys who ran conventions here in town, and it was one of those things. Stuff like, man, if these guys can run a convention, I bet I can. Yeah. And so I got together and stuff with some friends and stuff that I worked with Terminus Media, and had some customers and stuff that that I trusted, and we got together and stuff, and we started doing the Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo, which is a convention we did here in the mall, and we haven't done a show since the pandemic, but our last show that we had like over 50 vendors and 60 hours worth of programming.
Wow.
And it was actually free to the public.
That's amazing.
But like I said, with that show, we were able to go and spotlight a lot of up and coming creators, authors, writers of all types, people who wanted to get film, people who wanted to be actors, people who wanted to do cosplay. It was a show, basically what we call it like a how-to show. We were able to go and teach each other, and everybody passes their knowledge and stuff on. And then, like I said, the vendors were very happy. I remember when we did the very first show, all the vendors were coming to me. It's like, hey, when can we do another show? Can we do another one in 6 months? I'm like, nah, that's too much work.
Right. 6 months, nah, I'll see you next year.
Yeah, but to me and stuff, that was always, it was like, okay, it's a successful convention when the vendors are asking, when can they do another one?
Right.
So I was definitely happy.
I hear you, man. That's what's up. All right. So I think like the last time we spoke, which is off stream, for the people at home, you told me how at first you guys didn't have like the card games in the shop. You had the comics and maybe like the Dungeons and Dragons, but you didn't have the card games like Magic and whatnot. So you want to tell us a little more about that? Like how
we hadn't even pulled in the Dungeons and Dragons yet. We were basically pretty much strictly a comic book shop, and we had like some action figures. And then we had customers come in and stuff, like I said, during the time that Magic first started. And people would come in and be like, hey, do you guys have Magic cards? And it's like, oh, no, that's Eddie's Trick Shop. They got a store on Memorial Drive. And then they're like, no, not Magic, like pulling rabbits out of the hat, but it's a card game called Magic the Gathering. And then it's like, well, nah, we don't even know what that is. And so then all of a sudden the customers are like, well, here, let us show you. And then it's like they show us how to play Magic the Gathering. I'm just like, oh, this is something we got to get into. And back then, that's like during what they call the revised editions, when like getting Magic was like really, really hard. The supply and demand was completely upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, where boxes were like really, really hard to get. But whenever we get some in, they'd sell like hotcakes. And like I said, luckily and stuff, it's one of the things that I've been able to like, you know, hang on to. And it's a game that I still play to this day. You know, and we usually have a lot of people who come in and play in events every Friday evening and on Saturday afternoons.
Nerd life, baby. Nerd life.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, we've gone off, you know, from Magic and stuff. We also do Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. We have a lot of people who come through and buy Pokemon cards, and we also do like the My Hero Academia card game, which is actually one of the newer card games.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to do its third release in the next month or so.
Oh wow. Okay, My Hero's doing it. That's what's up. That is what's up. Okay, so we got into a few things. Oh, okay, no. Who was some of your favorite black superheroes? I know you mentioned Luke Cage. What's some of your favorite black superheroes like reading as a kid?
Well, basically it was the ones that I was introduced to through the Fantastic Four, because I read you know, I remember as a kid seeing reruns of the old Hanna-Barbera Fantastic Four cartoon. So when I went to the convenience store, I would see a Fantastic Four comic book. And, you know, that's what actually introduced me to the whole concept of like continuity. Because before, when I was like picking up like, you know, some of the Batman books and some of the other DC characters, it was like when you got one issue and then you got the next issue, it didn't really seem like it was like a carryover.
Right.
Or, you know, it was like a brand new story. It didn't really necessarily feel like it was connected. But when you read like a lot of the Marvel comics from back then, you know, they were like soap operas for kids.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, each story would like lead into the next. And it'll keep you coming back, you know, every month. And through the Fantastic Four, you know, they introduced me to the Black Panther.
Right. Right.
Okay. They introduced me to like Luke Cage. I had no idea who Luke Cage was. But I remember there was an issue. I can't remember the issue number. But basically, the thing, Ben Grimm had lost his powers. All right. And so Reed Richards hired Luke Cage, because he was Luke Cage Hero for Hire, to sub for the Thing on the team, you know, until he could come up with a solution for the Thing losing his powers. And so I'm like, oh, next time I went to a convention, I was like, oh, I got to find me some of these Luke Cage Hero for Hires and, you know, collect these books up. And of course, luckily for me, they were in the quarter bins. You know? Yeah. So I wound up getting like all the Luke Cage Hero for Hires, all the Power Man and Iron Fist, you know. Then I'm like, oh, he's teaming up with Iron Fist. So let me find out about this Iron Fist dude. Went and collected all the issues of Iron Fist, and you know. So that's how I got, you know, involved with like, you know, Luke Cage and also the Black Panther were through the Fantastic Four. And then of course went back or also read like the newer stuff from them. And so, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm drawn to these characters. Because like I said, back then, you know, there weren't a whole bunch of characters and stuff with like natural tans.
Right.
You know, especially, you know, cool characters. It's like, you know, before they neutered them, you know, back then, you know, the Black Panther started off as a beast. You know, here's a dude and stuff that basically, you know, his first appearance of dealing with the Fantastic Four, he beat all the Fantastic Four by himself.
Right.
By himself. You know, so I'm like, oh man, you know, this dude is like off the chain.
Yeah, now it's a mockery. Like they're just using his name to promote whatever stupid story they want. And I'm, you know, like I'm not against the Dora Milaje, but that was a newer concept. I'm not against Shuri, but that was a newer concept. And I am against the White Wolf because that was just a stupid, like written story of how that kind of got that character in there. But you know, I can understand because it's Marvel. You know, they put, you know, black characters next to like white characters, but so you know, it's like kind of vice versa. You know, like even though something's black, it's still Marvel, so it's not necessarily like just for black people. So they gotta make sure everybody can see themselves everywhere. But I was just like, the whole white wolf concept was just stupid to me. Like, it would have made more sense if he was just like some kind of foreign spy that they work with, but he, not necessarily like tied to not necessarily like tied to like royalty or anything with Wakanda. But that was a stupid concept to me. But yeah, man. But and Black Panther's Lion Man. I don't care how many interviews I got to do, how many times I got to reiterate that. Black Panther is Lion Man. Lion Man is all Negro comics. Uranium is something that's real. Vibranium is not. They got that straight out of all Negro comics, and they ain't get them no credit for that. So that's my only issue with Stan Lee, because I know a lot of people like to try to speak up for them, like, oh well, they fault Marvel for getting the proper ink. They're like black people, and I was like, yeah, but black people been doing comics since like Superman time. Like, but all Negro comics is the only thing that we can trace, and that's been out. That's been out. That's been a thing. So
well, remember, you mentioned all Negro comics, though. You got to think about the time that it came out. They only produced that one issue because of all of the racism and stuff back then. He wasn't able to get anybody to like sell him the paper or anything else, so he could actually produce more issues.
Well, Yvonne, okay, I think there's a few things that had happened in individual like places, but I guess they may have got in contact with each other to where they all just kind of got branched under like the whole all Negro comics banner. But because like you got Yvonne too, Yvonne was out in like the 50s. I met that gentleman. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he created a superhero character in like the 50s or maybe even the 40s, maybe older than that. Yvonne, I'll send that to you so you can see what I'm talking about. Like I actually met him. Hello, can you hear me?
Hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yvonne, all Negro comics. Look at all Negro comics. Yvonne.
Yeah, like I said, the copyright date for all Negro comics was all the way back in like 1947.
Yeah, so that been out way before Black Panther. So, when I go in these white spaces and they talk about people like Lobo and Black Panther, and I'm like, no, that's from white people. Okay, black comic characters been out. You talking about from white people. No, well, white people want to tell the narrative because that's the credit that they get to get. They get to get the credit of, oh, we created the first black superhero. No, you didn't.
Yeah, like I said, Ebon came out in 1970.
No, how does he look? Black, like he like
by Larry Fuller.
He got like purple and black, something like that.
Whether like I said, it's a black and white cover comic.
Let me see. Let me see what you're talking about. Send that link to me. Copy the hyperbole, or not hyperbole, but copy the link and just send it to me in Messenger. Like from the top of your screen. Let's click that, copy and paste that, and just send it to me in Messenger.
Yeah, it was 1970, issue 1, Birth of a Hero.
Let me see. Well, shoot, I might be wrong with my assessment. Ebon. Well, Ebon came later. See, y'all see that, people? Proper research. But it's all good. Well, shoot, in the 70s.
Remember, like I said, I'm old. It's like I actually like lived through a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of the stuff was like, I had to remember them. That's the hard part to remember them. Huh?
You heard of Tom Floyd?
I didn't quite understand you.
I'm sorry. Maybe I'm cutting it now. Have you heard of Tom Floyd?
The name sounds familiar.
Tom Floyd, yeah. He created like I'm trying to think of all the characters he made. He made like Jumpman, Black Man. He created a lot of characters. He created a lot of comic characters in the 70s. But and there's other people too. I got to talk to Marcus again, bro. Marcus, bro, look out for the interview with Marcus, because Marcus gonna break everything down. Marcus gonna break everything down. So if you want to check out that interview.
Are you talking about Thomas Wesley Floyd?
Thomas Wesley Floyd, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom Floyd. Yeah, comic book creator. Jumpman.
Okay, yeah, you did stuff in the 60s.
Uh-huh. I could have sworn it was the 70s too. But yeah, man, Tom Floyd, man, that guy's amazing, man. Thomas, okay.
I see this. We're being nerds right now. We're being nerds right now, but it's okay. That's what we. Yeah, that's what we do, dude. Man, like this whole concept of just like the Black comic renaissance is a real thing. Get some kind of turbulence here. Hello.
Yeah, it looked like you blacked out for a minute.
Hang on, Tony.
I'm here.
There's like some background noise. I don't know if it's me or if it's you.
No, I'm here completely by myself.
It might have been my fan. There you go. All right. Well, Tony, listen, man. Okay, this is him right here. Oh, I don't know how to flip my screen on freaking Skype. I don't know how to do it. Well, here we go. Black man. Here we go. There you see it.
It's a little blurry, but I can see it.
Okay, hold on. Let me my phone's fighting me. My phone's fighting me right now. I don't know if I'm like stupid. All right, enable blur. All right.
Hey, you know and stuff, when you use your computer to do it and stuff, you can just do a screen share.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do all that. Yeah, but Tom Floyd, he don't get enough credit for like stuff that he did. And I always try to like just bring his name back up. Like, yeah, but Black man. I've been trying to find that comic book forever. I can't find it. Can't find it for the best of me. But yeah, like I just like I like him better than I like Luke Cage and Luke Cage and Black Lightning. Black man's better. He credited a bunch of comics though, man. But yeah, anyway, Tony, listen, man, brother, we are all out of time. I wish we could talk more. You have any shout outs that you want to give out?
Like I say, if you want to peruse some of the stuff we got in the store, a lot of our stuff is on our website. You can just go to challangesgames.com and see the inventory we have on the website. You can follow me, Tony Cade, on Facebook and Instagram. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out and stuff, the recent book I did was the Fox Chronicles, which you can also get on my website at challangesgames.com. And we should be hopefully kicking off the Kickstarter for issue 2 in November. Hopefully we can actually get everything together and stuff. I'm waiting for a few more pieces to come in, and we're going to see about launching it on my birthday on November 2nd. So definitely look for it.
And y'all look out for that interview I'm gonna do with Tony, because he's definitely gonna be back. Cause we got to talk to this brother again. I told you, man, so much to learn from this brother. Hey, listen, Tony, if you want to check out a really good interview, go listen to that David G. Brown interview I just posted on YouTube. Check out a little some of that. Or Roosevelt Pitts. Those are some really good interviews, man. Just hearing from some brothers about just the knowledge that they have and just their perspective on blackness. More importantly, black nerdness. Okay. Man, but listen, y'all. What's up?
Oh, I was going to mention this stuff too, that somebody's actually got a Black Man #1 on eBay that's slabbed, and they're basically got it at like $1,200 or best offer. So I'm like, hey, make them a best offer. You might be able to go ahead and snap you up a copy.
Yeah. Yo, Tony, hey, I actually know somebody that got an all Negro comics. I know somebody, Mr. Bradley Golden was telling me about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying. Yeah, but I'm still trying to get you connected with what's the name? With what's this man's name? Cool Comics. He's in Vat Austin. Get all y'all together, man. Get all the Black comic nerds together. That'd be awesome. Black comic shop on nerds together. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think does he have a comic in like South Georgia? He's got a shop in South Georgia.
Vat Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Cool Comics. I'm trying to remember that brother's name. I can't remember his name on top of my head, man. I done talked to so many people this last month, man. Like I still got interviews. Like I'm interviewing. Who am I interviewing tomorrow? When do comics tomorrow? That's tomorrow. Yeah. Shout out to Clermont, Florida. I think that like we're trying to go to Texas next.
Have you got a copy yet of the access guide to Black Comics?
I haven't. I need to get that.
Yeah, man. It's like it's like the Green Book for us. You know, everybody's in it.
Like the Green Book. Well, I guess we gotta get that, man. But yo, shout out to the Black Comic Guide, and the curators of that. But y'all, hey man, we all out of time. Shout out to the Cade, Georgia. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to the Fox Chronicles. Y'all look out for that interview with me and Tony. We definitely gonna do it. You know, we got to do an interview for the Fox Chronicles because that's my stuff. You know, I like me some Fox Chronicles. But yo, we are out of time. Thank you, Tony, so much for being on the show, bro. You rock. All right, hey, we out.
All right, guys, have a good.
All right, double. Oh, hang on, maybe.